controls or old zone controllers that you can't see anything that's faded. You got flat lights that keep flashing all the time, or you got panels that your limitations don't do 4 or 6 zones. Well, we've got some news for you, some exciting news. So we'll throw this stuff away, and here comes a solution for you. Stay tuned for more information.
Using the Zonex by Advantage Air, it comes with a wall controller that you can change the names, the control box, the power supply, the cabling required for the installation, and the option of extra touch panels that can be installed as well.
With the pack, we send out our details, so we'll send you a card so you know who we are. We also send you out our little QR codes, all these little information. So this one is an example for a touch panel for my ear. You just tap, you scan the QR code. It links you to our YouTube channel, making life so much simpler. We've tried to make life as simple as possible so you can deliver or have outcomes without having to have people that don't know what they're talking about come into your home and destroy your home. If you're interested in doing a DIY or you want more information, feel free to look us up on YouTube. We'll show our YouTube on this video now, showing you all the different types of videos we've got. We've got different videos for lots of different scenarios, and as we're continuing to add more videos for different applications, for different controllers, so that you can go to this and use it as a library for different ideas, and so that you can get the right solution and the right advice without having to be charged an arm and a leg. How do we go about changing out the system? It's very simple. First of all, we're going to pull the power out. You want to disconnect the power plug from the wall. Now, do not disconnect any of the cables until you are ready to change them over. So you take your new box out, you take your new control box out of the box so that we're ready to roll. Obviously all the boxes come with manuals in them, so they can show you how to use different things. But in this video, we're going to try and make it as simple as possible by telling you how we go about doing it. All right, so the little secret I would say is take your existing control box, and we want to overlay the new box on it. So this is, for this example, we've got zones into 7 and 8. So I would simply just take out the zone motor cable. There's a little lug you push down to unclick it. You make sure you get the orientation. You have the little lug facing up. So that came out of 7. We then plug it back into 7. Just trying to keep things as simple as possible. If you have a functional touch panel, I would always take photos of the zone order on the panel so that you don't have to try and remember. So always take a photo if you can before you start the process. Take photos of the cabling before you start. If you're in an ideal world, you'll go through and label all the cables 1 to 10, for example. I always put little marks and little dashes on it. But the other simple way is just to overlay the new box on top of the old box and just correspond. When you pull one cable out, put that cable into the same corresponding spot, so that way you don't get the order wrong. So once that's done, now the power supply we're not going to be reusing, so we'll remove the power supply and the old control box. That goes, and so the new Zonex comes with a new plug that has AC and DC in it, much like the other ones. Similar scenarios, the other transformer, different ratings, requirements, and so forth to suit. You'll then plug that in. When you're putting in any of the cables, just make sure you hear the click. And once that's down, so next thing is changing the panel. Obviously, when you go to change the panel, you're going to need to do a couple of things. One is you're going to be taking off, for example, we're obviously going to be unplugging. So to take the old panels off the wall, typically they clip on and off. So you'll see how that will clip. They'll come off the wall. So they'll unclip, they'll come off the wall, lift it up off the bracket, then you unclip the cable to get access. Now, if you have a red cable in the wall, it is often that you'll find that there is actually a little lug on the side of the clip that you'll need to get a Stanley knife and cut that little lug off, because it won't fit into the hole in here. So if you look really closely here, see how there's a little lug spot here? It's not here. So the cable, that red cable, it's only on the red cables that they have that little lug. That cable won't fit in unless you cut that little. It's very simple to do. You just use your Stanley knife. So obviously you're going to have, depending on what type of system, what panel you have, you're going to have backing plates on the wall. You will then remove those backing plates. You will then fit the new backing plate. Remember to put it the right way up, this way up. And then once you've done that, you'll then you'll then connect your cable into the touch panel, and then and then we go back to the roof and then power the unit back up again. So let me just plug this in. The kits come with a 10 meter Cat 5 cable. If you've got one on the wall, it is up, you don't need to replace it, not for this panel, but for other panels. They actually come with earthed RJ45 plugs. The Zonex plug cables at the moment don't come with that earth plug, so the original Cat 5 cables will work. If you don't have a Cat 5 cable on the wall, for some of the other controllers, you'll need to put in the Cat 5 cable. Now, that's all in there. You're going to have your IEC to 3-pin plug. It's a little bit different than the other transformer. The other transformer, the lead was, the 3-pin plug lead was attached to the transformer. These ones come where you have to put in the IEC plug. So we're going to plug in the IEC plug. We'll just move that around so that doesn't fall off the table for us. You're going to find on startup, now the touch panel is started up or is on. So let's go through and we can do a couple of things. So first of all, you can see the panel is there fitted. What we're going to be able to say from here, that's an old zone motor that clearly has seen better days. You hear that grinding noise? That's actually the zone motor that's failing. If you need zone motors, here is a link on we'll put a link in the description to how do you go about finding new zone motors. As you can see on our e-com store, on our website, we have a store that sells all different types of parts. For everything you're seeing here, we have parts for some of the older gear. We have second-hand parts if we can get our hands on them. We look to try and make sure we're trying to help everyone keep their system going. Not everybody's in the situation where they want to upgrade. Some people want to just keep the existing one going. We can happy to help with that. So that one there is plugged into zone number 7. So if we go, you can hear it click. Now the motor struggling as it's grinding away. You can see it's still functioning, but it is on its way out. Eventually that little step motor will fail. You hear it really struggling towards it there when I put as stress goes on the zone itself. Often what we find is the blades in the zone motors, they might get they might bind up a little bit, and so in the exact ears, the blades might bind up, and then it puts more stress onto the little step motor. At the end of the day, everything that goes round wears out, so it's just a common failure point. All right, so getting back to the controller, this too about talking about how we go about programming this up. As you can see, it's pretty simple on or off, but if you want to go into settings, you can go through and edit the names. You just tap on the pencil, change the name to whatever you want to name. Really cool over the other type of controllers where it just is predetermined labels. You can get quite creative. Now the next thing we can do is go in the installation settings, 22369. Enter, gets us into here. So in here we're going to start going through some of the parameter setups. So the first question is how many zones are installed? So let's just say we have 8 because the last zone is plugged into number 8. So let's say 8, and then we save that. I stepped away, 2, 2, 3, 6, 9. We'll put that on the screen so you can see it. So the number of zones is 8, we've saved that. Now the question is, how many constants do we want to have? So it's a question. What is a constant? A constant is a safety zone that automatically open back up. So if you've got a ducted system where all the outlets in the home are covered by a zone motor, it means that every zone has the potential to be turned off, or every outlet could be turned off. That means there's nowhere for the air to go in the system. So the unit we're running, and we're running against all closed zone motors, you can then cause damage to the ductwork, the fan units, or even the zone blades or damper motors themselves. It's ideally you want to have constants. So this here, you can state which ones are constants. So you can change them, so we can turn on, all right, we move the constants around. So you just select, and you can select up to 3 constants with the Zonex system. If you've got a common area that has, say for example, a lounge that has no zone motors on it, you may choose to go with no constants. I always urge you to make sure that you do have a constant space or an area that is going to have, or a number of outlets that are going to have constant airflow irrespective of all zones closed. So if you're unsure, please reach out. We're more than happy to have a chat about what your options are. But a default scenario, you should always have a minimum of 1 constant. Now, next the question is, how many constants do I need for your system? Well, that will depend on the size of your system. So smaller systems can get away with less outlets because you have less airflow, or less outlets open at the same time, at the minimum requirement, because you have less airflow. As you get bigger and bigger systems, you may need to increase the number of zones. So you've got a little 10 kilowatt ducted unit, and you've got 2 outlets in every zone, then you may be able to get away with just 1. Now I say maybe. It comes with the cover. You need to make sure. You need to make sure it's not going to cause damage, because this can cause issues to your unit. Now, if you've got like somewhere middle range, somewhere like a 14 to a 16 kilowatt unit, I probably would go with 2. And if you've got an 18, 20 or 25 kilowatt ducted unit, I would safely say that you probably should have a minimum of 3 open. Now that's covering it on the size of those zones. If you've got a 25 kilowatt ducted unit and only got 3 zones in your home, then obviously you're not going to have all 3 as constants, because you typically will have 5 or 6 or 8 outlets per zone of that system. But if you've got 10 zones, for example, and you've got outlets, you've only got zones that have only got 1 or 2 outlets, then you might find that you'll be back to having 3 constants installed. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help, and you can, as you're going to understand from this video, we've got lots of support and a large amount of knowledge around this product. So we've set our constants, so we're going to turn off that one. I'll turn on the number 7. So actually we'll turn on number 8 just so that we can illustrate it to you. So we go save. All right, so we've done those savings. Now we exit back out of it. So we could go through, as you can see, we're now closing the zones. And we can see here, and it's only got now displaying 8. Remember, we were displaying 10 before. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, and we're going to get to the point where it's turn off the zones. As you can see, as we've turned zones off, it has actually allowed zones, then it turns other zones back on. See, if I turn off zone 2 now, see zone 8 is turned back on again, because it now knows that you need to have, I made a mistake, that zone motor is sitting on number 7. If I put it into there, if we go now, I've just plugged that into zone number 8, you can see it's now now opening that zone back up, because that's the constant for it. Now, if I turn that zone back on again, now we see this zone motor is now closing. Hope that makes sense around that. But other than that, the next thing we do, if you want to add a second touch panel to the wall, just go around and just set up a second touch panel, just so that it makes sense how we go about doing that. So we're going to need to add another cable. Obviously makes logical sense. And then we are going to add the other panel. All right, I'm back. I had to go hunt for the other panel. Got the other panel, so we'll click that in. You can see that one's got, we've got the wall bracket on the back of it. So we have, that just pops off the wall. As you can see here, putting it on the wall, starts at the top and then you push down at the bottom. It actually, the bracket itself is an old, look at that, magic. It's an old Zone 10 wall bracket they've used. Nice work. So we go plug that cable in. So I don't know if you notice, but now we got both panels on. The second panel just picks up, the first one is mirrored. If we tap it, you can see now, as we're turning on other zones, actually the other constants are closing. You can see it mirrors very quickly, very simply. So really nice little panel. A bit of an upgrade from the older Zone Station 2. And if you put that on the wall next, you can have this running on beside your proprietary unit controller. You know, you could have it, this example, just an LG controller. You can have that on the wall like so. You can control the unit, and then you can control the zones. Really cost-effective solution. Obviously doesn't give you any Wi-Fi or remote or app-based options, but there are other products in the market that we can offer you that will give you the ability to control it from your phone. If you're interested in finding out more about controlling the system from your phone, or will have any more questions about the Zonex system, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to support you and give you any information. If you have a question that we don't have a video on, we'll happily do a video if we can to support that product or that question, and then we'll uplift it to YouTube and send you a copy so that we can help you and help grow this channel and and people yourself. Look forward to, stay tuned, like and subscribe. We're going to be doing some promotions coming forward in the near future where we're going to be offering different products on our as a prizes or as giveaways. So those who like and subscribe, the offer will be open to all those that are subscribing to our channel, and we look forward to see you on the next time.